Every year, 32 robots from all across the Southern Hemisphere come together to battle it out to be crowned the Australian Robowars champion.
In one way, I've been building robots for over 50 years. Combat robots, yeah, that's probably around 17, 18 years, I suppose.
I think we sort of started talking about it at the end of the 90s. So it was Brett, Gary, myself. I really didn't have a choice. So Dad was doing the welding, fabrication. Brett was doing the electronics, and we had me and my brother driving mainly.
We're Team OES Robotics, based in Auckland, New Zealand.
On the team, I've got my brother and my dad, which is great. We've got Nick, who came to the Australian competition. And we also got Shane, who didn't make it across this time, so he's our electronics guy. Working with Dad and Steve, that's pretty awesome because we get to solve problems together and work it out and divvy up the work, and it's good because we all have different strengths, so we can kind of lean on each other when we need to.
I really enjoyed it. It's really good bonding. You know, we can all work down in the garage and we come across problems and the way we're going to do something on the robot, and we talk about it, you know, and we figure out the best solution, and especially going away together, it's sort of like a holiday for us.
This is a really big deal. This is Australia's biggest competition, and the builders really want to win. Every year we see the robots getting stronger and more aggressive. Throughout the competition we saw huge amounts of destruction, and there was a few key robots that were doing all this damage. That was Dream Crusher, Obliterator, Bad Blood, and Bender. And one of the fights that really stood out was Bad Blood versus Vegetable. Now, Vegetable was built by our youngest builders, two twins, and this was their first featherweight robot.
They were kind of doomed, because if they can't get us by like ramming into us or anything like that, we just have to wait for the moment when our wedges fall low enough to get under them, and then when we hit them, it's kind of game over. The robot is like two plates sort of sandwiched together with all the components in the middle, and just the mounting between those two plates just wasn't up to it. It's that force directly upwards that would have shorn the bolts and split the robot in half. Generally, just ripping a robot in half, that's always a great feeling, to destroy some other robot. But I don't know, when you look at the faces of like a couple 12-year-olds that have just had their robot crushed that they've been working on for a while, it's a bit sad.
So right from the start of the competition, Obliterator was one of the robots we just didn't want to face. We knew that every robot it was facing, it was beaten up, it was tearing apart, and we knew that even if we win a fight against it, we're going to come out with some serious damage.
Yeah, well, that's two big hitters against each other. There was always going to be fireworks there.
Wait, what's this? Obliterator's going in again, and he hits him back. Again with another hit. That's a good one, but back on their wheels. Obliterator back in again with another hit. Obliterator slowly moving its way around the arena. Obliterator, looks like he's stopped. Unable to move, gonna start a countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. One more chance for Obliterator. Oh, and he looks like he's stuck again. Alright, this might be the count out here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the win goes to Bad Blood. Fantastic fight
You
here.
know, like we knew what Glenn was capable of. Glenn destroyed one of our robots. I mean, he'd beaten it and then he couldn't resist going in for another hit. And to watch Glenn throw it away in that fight with the Kiwis.
You know, we weren't supposed to win that fight, but we got super lucky.
And it was probably one of the better fights, or the best fight that I've ever seen. It was just the sheer power, these robots bouncing off the walls, and you know, when you're there and you hear the crunching of the metals, you know, it's certainly an experience. It was certainly a good fight.
I mean, the way these robots work is you hit something, but like the same amount of force has to return back. You can't deal more force than you're capable of absorbing yourself. So like every time he hits us, he's absorbing that same force as well. And obviously he's built it really, really well because he can do it. But you know, there's only so much of that a robot can take.
And we were always counting on Glenn saving the day so that the Kiwis wouldn't go through and get first and second like they did in Canberra. And so Glenn got knocked out. So it was just me, and I'm like, oh, I have to face them both. They're both still in the competition. They're both pretty much undamaged, you know, they're still at full strength. There was a lot of pressure.
It's been around a bit, that robot. I wouldn't say we weren't scared of it or anything, but it wasn't on our radar. But it certainly came on our radar pretty quickly. It's a hard, tactic-wise, it's a hard robot to fight because he's got good defence right round with that big tyre. We found that that's pretty effective, you know, of absorbing hits, and it's got a good weapon.
The rubber tide is vulnerable to verticals. It's great against horizontals, takes the hits from a horizontal really well, but a vertical screws the tyre up, it flips it.
So the verticals against horizontals was always really brutal, and it could go either way. One spinning up, one spinning like that, and it's not good for either party.
You know, Russell and Nick went to fix Bad Blood, and I stayed with my brother to try help him win that fight, because you know, if we win that fight, we win the competition. So that was the number one goal right there.
Drivers, are you ready? Let's get this fight underway in 3, 2, 1. Very measured in their start here. Aiming for the hit. Very measured in their attacks. Both not wanting to. Just mission. Massive hit from Bender. Both lining up. Green crashes upside down. This is another count out for the 10, 9, 8.
My rule of thumb is that if you want to win a major event, you don't go into it with a robot that can't self-ride. They work on a principle of active self-riding.
Bender wasn't really on our kind of radar before that. We were more looking at, you know, Obliterator and Mr. Mangle and some of the other big vertical spinners there. So to lose to Bender really showed us that, you know, we need to get Bad Blood back together quick and get it right 100%. Otherwise, we're going to have no chance.
After I came out of my fight with my destroyed robot, they were frantically repairing theirs. They actually needed the weapon out of mine, so we ended up pulling apart Dream Crusher and putting it into Bad Blood, so it was a bit of mixing and matching.
I mean, there was no time to think about it. There was no time at all to do anything but repair the robot. The weapon itself was completely screwed. I've never seen something like pretty tough, like really tough steel, just bent over, like completely. Would never have thought that would be possible in a featherweight.
So if we can drive, I know that we still have a chance at the start of the game. We spent the entire time between the semi-final and the final rebuilding, and you know, having the organisers breathing down our necks, being like, we've got to fight like now.
These things aren't easy to just like pull apart and rip back together. They take a lot of effort.
We were fighting the more experienced OES guy, Jack. He's a really good driver. I fought him before in Canberra, and he sort of whooped me. I really wanted to get back at him for that.
You don't fly across the Pacific Ocean to lose a competition. We were there to win.
So throughout this competition, both these robots had taken a lot of damage. Going into this fight, it was about who could position themselves to deliver the best hit to end this fight quickly and take out the win.
Fighters, are you ready? Let's get this final underway. 3, 2, 1, fight. Full speed, waiting for an opportunity to attack. Both very cautiously making their way around the arena, not wanting to hit weapon on weapon. Bad luck just trying to get around the back of Bender here. Bender very moves and slow in the middle. Really spins blade back towards Bad luck. Tense moments here as wait. Oh, straight up and under Bender. Bender into the air. And Bad luck upside down on top of Bender. What will be the result here? And it looks like Bender's escaped. And this is going to count out Bad luck. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the win goes to Bender, with Bad Blood unable to move in this fight.
He wasn't able to get back on his wheels, so the fight was called and we won.
Obviously a little bit disappointed because we are there, you know, we're there to win, we're there to have fun. Bender was a great robot, they beat us fair and square.
Ended up beating both of us, so it certainly deserved to go right through and win.
This is one of those competitions where cubic dollars doesn't buy you a winner. No amount of money is going to buy you a winner. Money helps, but it doesn't guarantee.
It was great to see Gary, Rob and Bender take out the Robowars Championship. It really takes a lot of skill to put together a great robot, and these guys are some of the veterans that we've seen participate in this sport for many years. But it's not just the veterans that can take out the competition. Anybody can build a competitive robot. We have young and old builders, people from all walks of life, building different styles and very different creative machines. And it's really the ultimate mechanical engineering challenge, taking your individual skills and putting them together in a robot package. Every year these robots evolve. New technologies and new design ideas change the field, and I can't wait to see what the future of Australian robot combat has to bring.